When the townspeople gathered to stone her, no one expected that lone cowboy to step in, but when Jake Morrison learned Rose's true story, he would be shocked. In the scorching heat of Montana, a crowd had gathered in the main square of Willowbrook town. Anger filled their faces. Hatred burned in their eyes. Women hid their children behind them while men stepped forward with stones in their hands. Their target was clear: 19-year-old Rose McKenzie, who lived in a shack at the far corner of town. "That girl is cursed," shouted Mrs. Hartford, the matriarch of one of the town's most powerful families. "She's been bringing disaster to this town since the day she arrived. Pastor Williams's illness is because of her too," added another woman. "He got sick the day he got close to that girl." The crowd murmured in agreement. Rose McKenzie had come to town 6 months ago. No one knew where she came from. She had simply appeared at the town's entrance one morning in an old wagon. She wore a torn dress and carried a bundle beside her. She was young, beautiful, but her eyes carried deep sorrow. At first, the townspeople had pitied her. Several families brought food and had dresses sewn from old fabrics. But then strange things began to happen. The sick people Rose touched got healed. The dog wounds she placed her hand on recovered, but at the same time, people who treated her badly also fell ill, and the townspeople began to fear. "Witch!" shouted a young man. "She's a witch and she's cursing this town." The crowd began to advance. Their target was Rose's shack. They would find her, drive her out of town. Maybe even worse. Just then, the sound of horse hooves from outside town was heard. From the dusty road, a cowboy approached on his white horse. Jake Morrison. 33 years old, tall, broad-shouldered, he would come to town occasionally, get his supplies, and return to his ranch. He didn't talk much, lived peacefully with everyone. But this time was different. Jake dismounted and stepped in front of the crowd. He adjusted his cowboy hat and looked around with stern eyes. "What's happening here?" he asked, his voice low but authoritative. "None of your business, Morrison," said the town sheriff, Sam Douglas. "Town business. Lynching a girl is town business?" Jake's voice had hardened. "Because that's what I understand. That girl is a witch," Mrs. Hartford shouted. "She's cursing this town. We must drive her out." Jake turned to the woman. His eyes were like ice. "What evidence do you have behind this claim, ma'am?" "Evidence?" The woman was surprised. "The pastor got sick. Does an old man getting sick require witchcraft? But the people she touches get healed. This isn't natural." Jake looked at the crowd. "Has healing someone become a crime? You understand?" Another man interjected. "That girl isn't normal." Jake moved his hand to his gun handle. The townspeople tensed. "No one will bother this girl," Jake said, certainty in his voice. "Now disperse and go to your homes. Who are you to give us orders?" Sheriff Douglas stepped forward. "Me? I'm just someone doing what's right." Jake looked into the sheriff's eyes. "And if anyone harms this girl, they'll deal with me." Silence fell over the square. Everyone knew what Jake Morrison meant. He was a man who had fought in the war, dealt with even the most dangerous outlaws. No one wanted to mess with him. The crowd slowly began to disperse. With murmurs and grumbles, the townspeople returned to their homes. But the hatred in their eyes hadn't dimmed. Jake walked toward Rose's shack. The door was closed, but sobbing sounds came from inside. He knocked gently on the door. "Rose? I'm Jake Morrison. I won't harm you." The door cracked open. Rose's tear-stained face appeared. Her large green eyes were filled with fear. Her hair was disheveled, her dress torn. "Are they gone?" she whispered. "Yes. But they might come back." Jake removed his hat. "We need to find you a safe place." Rose looked at him suspiciously. "Why are you helping me? Don't you believe I'm a witch too?" Jake looked into her eyes. There was no evil in those eyes, only fear, loneliness, and deep pain. "No," he said simply. "I don't believe it." Rose's lips trembled. No one had trusted her for such a long time. "You need to go somewhere," Jake continued. "You're not safe in this town." "But where would I go? I have nowhere." Jake thought for a moment, then he made his decision. "Come with me. You can stay at my ranch." Rose was shocked. "But you don't even know me." "True, but watching a woman get stoned isn't right either." Rose closed her eyes. She had no other choice. Either she would go with this man or face the townspeople's anger. "Okay," she said quietly. "But I don't want to be a burden to you." "You won't be. Pack your things." Rose gathered her few belongings in a few minutes. Jake took her bundle and they went outside together. He prepared his horse so 2 people could ride. "You'll ride with me," he said. "The ranch is 10 miles from here." Rose hesitated, riding so close to a man on his horse, but she had no other choice. Jake helped her mount his horse. When Rose's hand touched his, Jake felt a strange sensation, as if electricity had struck. Rose's hand was very small and gentle. The horse moved away from town. Rose sat silently behind Jake. She looked at his broad back, wondering why this man was helping her. "Mr. Morrison," she said quietly. "Call me Jake." "Jake, why do you believe me?" "Everyone thinks I'm a witch." Jake didn't answer for a while, then he spoke. "I saw a lot in the war. I know what real evil looks like. That's not in your eyes. But strange things happen around me." "Like what?" Rose paused. Then she decided to tell. "Wounded animals I touch get healed. When I put my hand on sick people, their fevers go down. But at the same time, people who treat me badly get sick." Jake considered this explanation. Maybe this isn't a curse. Maybe it's a gift. "A gift?" Rose was surprised. "But people are afraid of me. People fear what they don't understand. That's not your fault." These words touched Rose's heart. No one had spoken to her like this. When they reached the ranch, the sun was setting. Jake's ranch was modest but well organized. A wooden house, a barn, and a few coops. Wide pastures stretched around it. "This is your home," Jake said, helping Rose down from the horse. Rose looked around. It was peaceful and tranquil. "It's very beautiful," she said sincerely. Jake led her to the house. The interior was simple but clean. A living room, a small kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. "You use the main bedroom," Jake said. "I'll sleep in the small room." "No, that's not right. This is your house. I won't insist. A lady deserves the main room." Rose's face reddened. No one had called her a lady for a long time. "You must be hungry," Jake said. "Let me prepare food for you." "No, I'll do it," Rose said quickly. "This is my guest duty." Jake smiled. "This isn't a duty. This is your home now, too." Rose's heart raced. The word home sounded so beautiful. They prepared dinner together. Rose's skill in the kitchen impressed Jake. Her hands were very quick and practical. "Where did you learn to cook so well?" he asked. Rose's face darkened. "My mother taught me. She died when I was very young. I'm sorry. My father raised me alone. He died last year too." Jake understood her pain. "I'm alone too. I never had a family." This similarity brought them even closer together. During dinner, Rose told Jake her story. After her father died, she had become very poor. When strange things started happening in the town where she lived, people blamed her. She had to be driven out, had taken refuge in Willowbrook. But the same thing had happened there too. "Has it always been like this?" Jake asked. "Since childhood. But it wasn't this strong before. After my father died, it's like something awakened." Jake looked at her hands. They were thin, delicate hands. How could these hands have healing power? "It's not a terrible thing," Jake said. "Being able to help people is a beautiful thing. But people are afraid of me. Wrong people. The right people will be grateful to you." Rose looked into Jake's eyes. There was no judgment in those eyes. Only understanding and warmth. After spending the night, Rose slept peacefully for the first time in a long while. She was safe in Jake's house. The next morning, Rose was waiting for Jake at breakfast. She had gotten up early and prepared breakfast. "Good morning," Jake said, surprised. "You didn't need to get up this early." "I want to. I came here as a guest, but I don't want to be idle." Jake sat at the table. The breakfast Rose had prepared was delicious. "This is very tasty," he said. "I haven't had such breakfast in a long time." Rose smiled. She liked receiving compliments. As days passed, a routine formed between them. While Rose took care of the house, Jake dealt with the ranch. In the evenings, they would eat together and sit on the porch talking. Jake discovered how intelligent and kind Rose was. She wasn't just beautiful, she was also very cultured. She loved reading books and had quickly finished Jake's few books. Rose saw what a good heart Jake had. When talking with him, she felt comfortable. Jake didn't judge her. accepted her as she was. A week later, Jake had to go to town. He needed to buy supplies. "Would you like to come with me?" he asked Rose. Rose shook her head. "No. Let's not cause more trouble. No one would dare touch you while I'm here." "I know, but I'm not ready yet." Jake nodded understandingly. "Okay, I'll be back by evening." When Jake went to town, gossip had exploded there. Everyone had learned that Jake had taken Rose to his house. "Morrison has gone crazy," Mrs. Hartford was saying. "He's taken that witch to his house. Maybe he's under a spell too," someone else added. Sheriff Douglas approached Jake. "Morrison, you'd better drive that girl from your house. The townspeople are uncomfortable." Jake gave the sheriff a stern look. "Do the townspeople decide who stays in whose house? But that girl is dangerous. That girl is innocent, and she's safe in my house. Jake, be reasonable. That girl might be a witch. If healing power is witchcraft, I wish there were more witches." Jake bought his supplies and left town. But he could feel the looks following him. When he returned home, Rose was waiting for him anxiously. "How did it go?" she asked. "Fine," Jake said, not wanting to worry her. But Rose noticed the tension in Jake's face. "They talked about me, didn't they?" Jake turned to her. "There was no point in lying."
"Yes."
"But I don't care. But it's getting hard for you. Maybe I should leave." "No," Jake's voice was definite. "You're not going anywhere." This certainty surprised Rose. Why was Jake so determined? "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why do you care so much?" Jake thought for a moment, then he decided to tell the truth. "Because my life is more meaningful since you're here." Rose's heart raced. What did this mean? "Jake, I know it's only been a week, but since you came here my house really feels like home." Rose's eyes filled with tears. No one had ever said such words to her. I feel at home here too," she whispered. They looked into each other's eyes. There was an electric silence between them. Jake took a step toward Rose. Rose didn't back away. "Rose," Jake said, his voice soft. Just then, horse sounds came from outside. Jake quickly looked out the window. Several people from town were coming. "Hide," Jake said to Rose. "Go to the bedroom and don't come out." Rose ran to the bedroom in fear. Jake checked his gun before opening the door. Outside were Sheriff Douglas and 2 of his men. "Morrison," the sheriff said, "we need to talk to that girl." "What girl?" Jake asked with an innocent expression. "Don't hide it from me, Jake. Rose McKenzie is here." "Do you have proof?" "The townspeople saw her here." "The townspeople see many things. Not all of them are real." The sheriff pushed Jake aside and tried to enter the house. Jake blocked his way. "Do you have a search warrant?" "This isn't necessary." "That girl is guilty." "Of what crime?" The sheriff paused. Actually, there was nothing concrete to accuse Rose of. "Disturbing public order." "Is that a crime?" The tension between the 2 men was increasing. The men with the sheriff moved their hands to their guns. "Jake, don't make this difficult," the sheriff said. "Hand over that girl." "No." "Then we'll take her by force." Jake drew his gun. The sheriff and his men also drew their weapons. "Are you serious?" the sheriff asked. "Will you die for a witch?" "She's not a witch. And yes, I'll die for her." Rose, hearing these words from the bedroom, felt her heart clench. Jake was risking his life for her. Just as the guns were about to fire, the bedroom door opened. Rose came out. "Enough," she said. "No one needs to die." "Rose!" "No!" Jake shouted. But Rose was determined. "I'll come with you," she said to the sheriff. "But you won't touch Jake." The sheriff smiled. "Smart girl." Jake was going crazy. "Rose, this is stupid. I won't let them take you." "Jake, please." Rose looked into his eyes. "I can't let you die because of me." "But they'll kill you." "Maybe. But you'll live." Jake's eyes filled with tears. This woman was ready to sacrifice herself for him. The sheriff handcuffed Rose. "Let's go." Jake was about to move to stop them, but Rose gave him a look. "Please," she said quietly, "don't follow me." And she left with the sheriff. Jake watched them leave helplessly. His heart was breaking into pieces. Rose was locked in the town jail. It was a small, dark cell. It had one window with iron bars. The sheriff asked her some questions, but Rose didn't answer. The more she talked, the more trouble would arise. When evening came, The townspeople gathered at the jail. They were angry and discussing what to do with Rose. "We should put her on trial," Mrs. Hartford was saying. "For what crime?" someone asked. "Witchcraft. That's not a crime anymore." "Then let's demand she leave town." "What if she doesn't?" The discussion went on for a long time. Rose sat quietly in her cell. She wondered what Jake was doing. "I hope he's not trying to rescue me," she thought. But Jake was doing exactly that. Around midnight, Jake came to town. He tied his horse at the stable and went to the back of the jail. Rose's cell window faced that way. "Rose," he whispered. Rose ran to the window. "Jake, what are you doing here?" "I came to rescue you." "No, it's too dangerous. Can you decide for me?" Jake examined the window bars. They were old and rusty. If he worked on them a bit, he could remove them. "Step back," he said to Rose. Jake took out his knife and started working on the bars. They were slowly loosening. "Jake, what if you get caught?" Rose was worried. "I won't get caught. And you won't stay here either." Half an hour later, the bars had loosened enough. Jake pulled them out. "Come on," he said to Rose. "Jump." Rose hesitated. "If I escape, I'll always live as a fugitive. Then we'll live as fugitives together." Rose looked at him in surprise. "You too. Wherever you go, I go too." These words melted Rose's heart. Jake was ready to sacrifice everything for her. Rose jumped from the window. Jake caught her in his arms. For a moment, they looked into each other's eyes. "Thank you," Rose whispered. "Don't thank me yet. We're not in a safe place yet." They both got on Jake's horse and moved away from town. But their plan wasn't simply to escape. Jake had a different idea. "Where are we going?" Rose asked. "To Pastor Williams's house." Rose was surprised. "But he's sick, and he hates me." "Maybe. But he's also a fair man, and if he sees your real talent, his opinion might change." Pastor Williams's house was outside town. The old man was indeed sick. His fever was high, breathing was difficult. Jake knocked on the door. Pastor's wife, Mrs. Williams, opened the door. "Jake Morrison? At this hour?" "Mrs. Williams, is your husband still sick?" "Yes, he's in very bad condition. The doctor can't do anything either." Jake looked at Rose. "Can you help him?" Rose hesitated. "But he hates me. If you heal him, we might change his mind." Mrs. Williams noticed Rose. You're that girl." "Yes," Jake said. "And she can heal your husband." "But how?" "Let us show you." Mrs. Williams was undecided. But her husband was dying, and the doctor couldn't find a cure. "Okay," she said. "But if she has any tricks." "She won't," Jake said. "Trust me." They went inside. Pastor Williams was lying in bed. His breathing was very difficult and his face had turned pale. Rose approached the old man. Her hands were trembling. "I'm scared," she whispered to Jake. "What if it doesn't work?" "It will work. Trust yourself." Rose placed her hands on the pastor's forehead. She closed her eyes and concentrated. At first, nothing happened. Then the pastor's breathing began to improve. The color returned to his face. His fever was dropping. Mrs. Williams watched in amazement. Her husband opened his eyes. "Sarah," he said in a weak voice. "Where am I?" "I'm here, my love," Mrs. Williams cried. "You're getting better." Pastor Williams noticed Rose. You're that young girl." "Yes," Rose said quietly. "I'm sorry for bringing you illness." The pastor shook his head. "No, child. You didn't bring me illness. You healed me." Rose's eyes filled with tears. Finally, someone understood her. "This is a gift," the pastor said. "A gift from God. And I was wrong." Mrs. Williams was crying too. "Thank you," she said to Rose. "You saved my husband." The next morning, Pastor Williams gave a speech in the town square. When people gathered, they wondered what he would say. "My friends," the pastor said, his voice strong and clear. "Last night when I was on my deathbed, young Rose McKenzie healed me. We thought this girl was a witch, but we were wrong. She is a gift from God." The crowd was in shock. Pastor Williams continued. "We wanted to drive this girl from our town, but the truth is, she might be our most valuable asset. How many people have such healing power?" Mrs. Hartford stepped forward. "But Pastor, that girl is cursed." "No," the pastor said definitively. "She is blessed, and we're about to lose her." At this time, Jake and Rose were standing at the edge of the square. Rose's hand was on Jake's arm. "Do you see?" Jake whispered. People are starting to see the truth, but not everyone agreed with the pastor. Some town members were still suspicious. "What if this is just luck?" Someone shouted. The pastor smiled. "Then let's test it." An old woman stepped forward from the crowd. Mrs. Thompson. Her hand had been in pain for weeks, and she couldn't move it. "Rose, child," the pastor said. "Can you help Mrs. Thompson?" Rose hesitated, in front of such a crowd, but she saw Jake's encouraging look. "Yes," she said, and approached Mrs. Thompson. She held the old woman's hand and slowly began to massage it. After a few minutes, Mrs. Thompson could move her hand. "Incredible," she shouted. "My pain is gone." Whispers rose among the crowd. This time, they were positive whispers. Another man stepped forward. He was wounded in the leg and limping. Rose touched him too, and the wound began to heal. Slowly, the townspeople accepted that Rose really had healing power. They no longer saw her as a witch. Sheriff Douglas stepped forward. "Rose McKenzie," he said. "I should arrest Jake Morrison for helping you escape from jail." "No," Pastor Williams said. "Jake did the right thing. Rose is innocent. But the law, if the law is unjust, it should be changed," the pastor said. "And I testify to this girl's innocence." The crowd supported the pastor. The sheriff was helpless and withdrew. Rose turned to Jake. Her eyes were shining with happiness. "Jake," she said, "you defended me. You risked your life. It was worth it." Jake said simply. "But why? Why did you care so much?" Jake looked into her eyes. There was no point in hiding his feelings anymore. "Because I love you, Rose." Rose's breath caught. "You love me?" "Yes. From the moment I first saw you, when I saw those beautiful, innocent eyes of yours, my heart belonged to you." Rose's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, Jake." They hugged each other. The crowd began to applaud. Even Mrs. Hartford was smiling. "Maybe we were wrong," she said to her husband. A month later, Jake and Rose got married. Their wedding was the biggest wedding in town. Everyone came and offered their best wishes to the couple. Pastor Williams performed the ceremony. "Jake Morrison and Rose McKenzie," he said. "You two have proven that love can overcome any obstacle." Rose looked very beautiful in her wedding dress. Jake was having the happiest day of his life. "Do you take her as your wife?" the pastor asked. "Yes," Jake said, his eyes on Rose. "Rose, do you take Jake as your husband?" "Yes," Rose said, her heart full of happiness. "Then I pronounce you husband and wife." Jake and Rose kissed. The crowd cheered with joy. On their wedding night, they were alone at their ranch. Rose was sitting in Jake's arms. "I've never been this happy," Rose said. "Me neither," Jake said. "You changed my life, Rose. You saved me, both from the townspeople and from myself. Now we'll build a new life together." Rose rested her head on Jake's chest. "And maybe a family." Jake smiled. "Of course. How many children would you like?" "At least 3, Rose said, laughing. "Then 3 it is." They hugged each other. Outside, the stars were shining and the moon was illuminating them. A year later, Rose became pregnant. The townspeople were very excited because they wondered how special a baby that grew with Rose's touch would be. When the baby was born, it was a healthy and beautiful girl. Rose named her Anna. "Like my mother," she said to Jake. "She'll be beautiful and kind." As Anna grew, it became clear that she had inherited something from her mother. She was healing sick animals, making wounded birds healthy. "This is a family gift," Pastor Williams said. "It passes from generation to generation." Jake and Rose were very happy. They had their second and third children too, Thomas and Elizabeth. Both had inherited something from their mother. Years passed, and Jake and Rose aged. But their love never diminished. Every day they fell more in love with each other. Rose was now one of the most beloved people in town. Everyone who was sick came to her, and she healed everyone. Without payment, without charge. "Why don't you take money?" Jake asked one day. "Because this is a gift," Rose said. "Gifts are given without charge." Jake admired his wife. She was so kind-hearted and generous. One day, Rose fell ill. It was a strange illness, and she wasn't getting better at all. Jake was very worried. "Can't you heal yourself?" he asked. Rose shook her head. "I can't touch myself. It doesn't work that way." Jake brought a doctor, but nothing worked. Rose was getting weaker. Just then, a strange woman came to town. She looked old and wise. She said she wanted to visit Rose. "I have a gift like yours too," the woman said to Rose, "and I can heal you." "How?" Jake asked. "But I want something in return," the woman said. "What?" "Half of Rose's power." Rose hesitated. "Losing half her power? Don't do it," Jake said. "This is part of who you are." "But if I die, I'll have no power left," Rose said. "At least half will remain." The woman placed her hand on Rose's. A strange energy transfer occurred. Rose was healed but lost half her power. "Thank you," she said to the woman. "This is a fair trade," the woman said. "Now we both have medium-level power." The woman left and Rose recovered. Her power wasn't as strong as before, but she could still heal. "Was it worth it?" Jake asked. "Of course," Rose said. "Spending more time with you and our children is more valuable than my power." Jake hugged her tightly. "I love you so much." "I love you too, Jake Morrison, infinitely." Years passed. Jake and Rose aged, their children grew up and married. They had grandchildren. Rose's story became legend in town. Everyone who knew her remembered with shame the days when they thought she was cursed. Jake died at 80. Rose was beside him, holding his hand. "I love you forever," Jake whispered. "Me too," Rose said, "and we'll meet again in the other world." Jake smiled and took his last breath. Rose lived 5 more years without Jake. When she died too, the whole town mourned. They were buried side by side. Their tombstones read, Jake Morrison and Rose Morrison. Love conquers all. Even years later, people would tell their story. How they overcame prejudices. How they proved the power of love. And a tradition began in town. Every year, on their wedding anniversary, the whole town would gather and listen to love stories. Because Jake and Rose's story was proof that love makes everything possible. The end. This story shows us that sometimes the most beautiful loves begin in the most unexpected ways. Jake and Rose's story is proof of overcoming prejudices, accepting each other as we are, and what true love means. In that small town in Montana, 2 hearts found each other and created a legend. And this legend continues to remind everyone that love can overcome any obstacle. At Western Love Stories, every story is proof of what can happen when we listen to our hearts. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in our next love story. Because in the Wild West, bullets may miss, but hearts never do.